You're feeling a few seconds ago, sleep way ahead. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Entire life, funniest joke in the whole world. Wow, it's the funniest joke in the entire world.
3, 2. Okay, do you think you're hypnotized?
No.
Would you try to get your hand off your face? He doesn't think his hand is on his face. You sit up straight chair. 1, 2, 3. Marbles in your mouth. Can't say a word. How you feeling? What'd you say your name was?
Okay, now on to our featured speaker. I think you'll find his presentation fascinating. He's a psychotherapist and a published author. Anthony Galie uses a creative approach to help others develop a positive outlook, improve concentration, and achieve results. His presentation defies logic and is guaranteed to amaze you. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a warm welcome for Anthony Galie?
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Phil. Thanks again. Hey. All right, good morning. Man dies and goes to heaven. He's standing at the pearly gates, and out comes St. Peter. And St. Peter says, we've got a new policy up here. Some people have been complaining about the service. So we decided before we let you into heaven, we want you to go down and check out hell first. Go down, take a look, case the place out so that you can make an informed decision as to where you'd like to spend eternity. So he does. He gets on the elevator to hell, goes all the way down to the very bottom floor, the doors open up, and much to his surprise, hell was spectacular. Swaying palm trees, beautiful woman, great-looking guys, fantastic food. He was having a wonderful time. Well, after a day or two, he decides to go check out heaven. So he gets back on the elevator, goes all the way up through the pearly gates, goes into heaven, and of course, heaven was also spectacular. But after a day or two, he deduced that heaven just wasn't as interesting or as much fun as hell was. So he goes out to the pearly gates, he calls out St. Peter, he says, you know, this is going to sound crazy, but I've checked out both places, I've made my decision, I believe I'd like to spend eternity in hell. St. Peter says, well, I think you're making a mistake, but we certainly wish you the best. So he gets back on the elevator, goes all the way down to the very bottom floor, the doors open up, and now hell was awful. Fire and brimstone, pain and suffering, people in agony, it was horrendous. Well, he runs up to the devil, he's all freaked out, he says, what is going on? I was here the other day, this place was terrific. The devil says, yeah, but the other day you were a prospect. Today you're a client. Let's face it, folks, motivation, unfortunately, does not last very long. You can go to a phenomenal conference like this, spend 4 or 5 days getting yourself inspired, motivated, and pumped up. How long does that feeling last? You know, for many people, it dissipates and starts to fall apart a week or two later. You go back a couple weeks later, and they're back where they started. If you're going to get and stay focused, driven, and motivated in this business, I believe it's like exercise. You got to be doing it on a regular basis. If you stop doing it, you soon lose any value you've gotten from it. You need to be programming yourself. And all these top achievers, all these top producers I've ever met are doing something to program themselves. Now, there's another technique that a preponderance of these top producers use. And I'm going to spend the rest of my time with you this morning talking about it and actually demonstrating it. My experience has been that many, many, many of them are visualizing their goals. They sit down with themselves on a regular basis and form a clear, vivid picture of what it is they're out there trying to accomplish. They put themselves in essentially a self-hypnotic state. Folks, don't let the word scare you. Hypnosis is not really a scary word. I personally believe the average person is spending about 80% of their waking day in a trance anyhow. I happen to mean that, by the way. I'm just going to show you how to put it to good use here this morning. You think I'm kidding? Hey, have you ever driven past your exit on a freeway, completely oblivious to the exit sign? You ever pull into the driveway at the end of the day and seriously have to ask yourself how you got there? Did I stop at that stop sign or red light? Have you ever seen a member of your family tranced out in front of that really good TV program, or one of your kids in front of those computer games? You call them for dinner, they don't even hear you call their name? Have you ever daydreamed? Have you ever seen someone daydreaming? You ever look over and see someone staring out into space, their eyes are wide open, they're not hearing what is going on, they're not seeing what's going on in front of them? Then you call their name, they don't even hear you call them? Daydreaming is an example of a hypnotic state. We spend enormous amounts of time in a trance, and you know something? When you go into a trance, you tend to become very suggestible. Suggestible. You ever see a number of people tranced out in front of that TV program and one person yawns? What happens? They all start yawning. That suggestion goes right into their subconscious mind, and they're doing it without even analyzing it. And you know, if you give yourself a series of repeated suggestions in fairly short order, you are able to change what is called your subconscious self-image. We all have a self-image. You've heard people talk about self-image, of course. He or she is always doing real well in the business because they've got a great self-image, whereas he or she is always getting themselves in trouble, always goofing things up because they've got a terrible self-image. You hear people talk about it. Have you ever analyzed it? Have you ever thought about what it really means to have a self-image? Because you all have one. And it's affecting you in thousands of ways. Let me show you what your self-image is. Want to know where it is and how to find it? Simple. Take a minute right now. Try to remember the last time you took a bath or a shower. Anybody can't remember? That's always a problem. All right, I admit that's a strange thing to ask a group to do, but take a moment, bear with me, try to remember the last time you were taking a bath or a shower. Now, when you remember that, isn't it kind of like you just mentally took your mind outside of your body and you're looking at yourself? Think about it. Isn't it sort of like you're outside of yourself, looking at yourself, standing in that shower or sitting in that bathtub? It's like you removed your conscious mind and there you are in that shower or in that bath. Folks, that's not how it happened. You know, when you were taking that bath or that shower, you were seeing things from eye level. You recorded the image through your eyes so that all you should be remembering right now are tiles on the wall or fixtures on the bathtub. Interesting, isn't it? When you recall it, when you actually remember it, you've now included a picture of yourself. Take a good look at that picture. That's your subconscious self-image. That's what you think you look like in relation to the rest of the world around you. Well, here's what I'm driving at. That same exact image is probably affecting your performance levels as reps and as agents, because you're carrying around a little picture of the way you see yourself as a Prudential rep. You see yourself as a successful, above-average, high-producing rep, you're going to go out there and act like one. Whereas if you see yourself as an average or below-average rep, you're going to go out there and act like that one too. That picture dictates what kind of clients you pick up the phone and call, how many times you pick up the phone to call the clients, whether you ask for referrals or not, whether you look at alternate lines of business or just stay focused on life insurance. That's all dictated and affected by that little picture, because you all carry it around inside your head. If you see yourself as a $50,000 a year producer, you'll be out there working very hard to make $50,000. Well, what if you started to see yourself as a $100,000 or a $200,000 or even a $300,000 a year producer? You think you'd go after a different type of client? You think you'd make more phone calls? You think you'd be more focused on referrals? Do you think you'd see your desk differently? See, I believe when people focus on higher goals, it changes the way they see the world. It alters their perception in some very subtle ways. Let me explain what I mean by altered perception. Give you some everyday examples. You go out and buy a brand new car. All of a sudden, everybody's driving the exact same car you just bought. You ever had that experience? You go put your signature on a contract, and all of a sudden, oh, there's one, there's one, there's one. They pop up all over the place. You never really paid attention to them before, but when you make a commitment to own that automobile, you can't help but notice them everywhere. A buddy of mine called when my wife and I have a 4-year-old. My wife was pregnant. I got a call from a friend of mine out in California. He had just found out his wife was pregnant with their first child. And I congratulated him, but while I was talking to him, I said, hey, Bob, you know, now that Diane is pregnant, you will probably recognize what a pregnant world it is out there. You know, he called back the next night. He was scared. He wanted to know if I had hypnotized him over the phone. So what are you talking about? He says, you know, I went out after we talked last night. I went shopping. I must have seen 80 pregnant women running around the mall. He goes, when did this happen? You know, he's all of a sudden. Now, of course, we have a little boy. What do I see in airports all the time? I can tell you from a quarter mile down that concourse, you know, that's a little boy, that's a girl, that one's getting ready for preschool, that one should know their numbers by now. It's amazing. When kids come into your life, everything changes. Well, when goals come into your life, everything changes too. But we are here to use the same exact principle for goal setting, because you know the same exact principles work. Now, I don't know if you heard or not, if they let you in on this or not, but in a few moments I'm going to bring some of you up on stage here, and I'm going to do a little demonstration of visualization. Yes, I will be hypnotizing a number of you here today, approximately 10 of you. And in order to find some decent hypnotic subjects, some good hypnotic subjects, in a few moments, I'm going to put you through a couple of visualization tests, what are known as suggestibility tests. Now, my purpose is twofold. Number one, to give you some experience with how visualization works, but ultimately to find 10 of you or so that are very good hypnotic subjects, and I'm going to ask them to come up on stage, and I will do my best to demonstrate to you exactly how this works. Now, this will be fun, and we're going to have a great time, but there's a serious message behind it, and I hope you keep the message in the back of your mind, that everything these folks are about to do up here is a demonstration of visualization. And that everything you see them do in sort of fun and games can also be done